When I was in fourth grade, a boy called me fish lips in front of my entire class. I was mortified. We had just moved, so I was at a new school, around new kids, trying to figure out where I fit in. That one comment gave me a complex about my lips that followed me all the way into adulthood, and I never told anybody how much it hurt. A few years later, we moved again. This time I was in 8th grade and we moved into the projects, and this was like low income housing. All of my friends were at my old school and in my old neighborhood. Once again, I was the new kid. There was a boy at my new school, and I'm going to call him Sam, who, looking back now, I think he probably liked me. I wasn't interested. I was a nerd. I was a real nerd. I was into books, into puzzles, into everything except boys. So one day I was walking home from school, right? And Sam was behind me, and there was a crowd of kids following him. Would you believe he took a football? I can laugh about it now. He took a football and threw it at me, and it hit me in the back of my head. I can laugh now, but I couldn't laugh then. I did not turn around. I did not say anything. I just kept walking fast, right? Trying to hold the tears in until I got home. The crowd behind him, they were like roaring with laughter. They were just laughing at me. I was humiliated. So when I got home, I went straight to my room and I cried. I didn't tell my mother. I didn't tell my sister. I didn't tell a soul. And if that wasn't enough, that same year, there was a girl, and I'm going to call her Diane. She was really popular, and she was also known as a bully because everybody was afraid of her, right? She knew that I was timid. She knew that I was not a fighter, right? So one morning on our way to school, she had asked me something. I think I ignored her or whatever. She didn't like that. So she threatened me, and she told me that she was going to fight me after school. Her exact words was, "I'm going to beat your ass," right? And so all day at school, I was nervous. I was stressed. I was worried. That's probably where anxiety started for me. I was nervous. I kept watching the clock. I was trying to figure out how I could avoid her. So I tried to sneak out and leave early from school so that I could get away. But old girl Diane, she found me. Okay, she found me and she ran to catch up to me because I was walking really, really fast, right? And there was a crowd of people that were with her because back then, this is the 70s, when people heard that there was going to be a fight at school, the news traveled around quickly and everybody shows up because they want to see the fight, right? So she was yelling. So she called it to me. She was yelling at me and threatening me and cursing at me and getting all up in my face. And I was terrified, right? I kept walking fast, though. I kept walking fast. I managed to get away and I ran the rest of the way home. I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. So that night, I cried myself to sleep. I didn't tell my mother, my sister. I didn't tell anybody. I just kept it to myself. The only people that knew were the people that were there. I think my sister did eventually hear about it, but I didn't come home and talk about it. I just dealt with it by myself, right? So then we moved again. This time we moved out of the projects because we weren't in the projects that long. Maybe 2 years, 2-3 years, I'm not really sure. I stayed at the same school, the same high school, but I met some new friends in my new neighborhood. And one of my friends, I am going to call her Sonia, she and I had an English class together in 9th grade. This is before I moved, right? So this is during the summer before 10th grade started. School was out and I was hanging out at Sonia's house. It was she had a sister who was 1 year younger than both of us. And this was at night. I was sitting on their porch, right? And her sister had said something smart to me. And naturally, I said something smart back to her, right? Out of nowhere, this girl, her sister, she hauls off and punches me right in the nose. It happened so quickly. I was like, oh my God. Everybody started laughing at me. My nose was bleeding. I was just sitting there on their porch and I didn't know what to do, right? I was so embarrassed, right? Because again, I'm not a fighter. So I just like grabbed my nose and my hands, blood was all over my hands and everything. And I just got up and I walked home quickly and quietly. Let me tell you, again, I didn't tell a soul. I was humiliated. I didn't cry this time though. I just washed my face and everything and I went into my room, right? And that was the end of it. So by the time 11th grade rolled around, right, we hadn't moved that year, but I remember going on an overnight school trip with this business club that I was in, right? And a part of the programs, we had to build some type of diorama box. And so on the last day of the program, the overnight trip, there was a dance, right? So my mom didn't buy me any new clothes for this trip, right? I actually had to sell candy just to be able to go on the trip. And so I sold enough candy that it paid for the trip, right? But I was still wearing the clothes that I already had. I didn't have new clothes like a lot of the other kids had, right? So there I am on the dance floor with friends and a bunch of other kids who went on the trip. I was already embarrassed to even be there because I was shy and I really didn't know how to dance, right? And then there's this girl, I'm going to call her Evelyn, right? Right there on the dance floor, she starts teasing me about the shoes and the outfit that I had on in front of everybody, right? I was already embarrassed because I couldn't dance. So now she's pointing at my shoes and she's teasing me and everybody starts laughing, right? So I'm trying to play it off like it's not a big deal. Eventually, while I think nobody was noticing, I left the dance floor and everybody else stayed at the party, and I went back to my hotel room early. And the girl that I was sharing the room with, she was still downstairs at the dance. So I just cried in secret because no one else was around, right? Came home from the trip. I didn't tell my mother, didn't tell my sister, didn't tell anybody. I just kept it to myself, because that's just how I handled things back then. So here is something I realized when I started thinking about all these events that happened to me as a child. I had never put this together until before I thought about this here video. In 4th grade, we had moved and I was at a new school. I was a new kid. In 8th grade, we moved again. I was a new kid again. In 10th grade, there was another move and I was in high school, right? So now that I think back, some of my most painful childhood memories happened during times when I was starting over. And there was something else every one of these events had in common. And the fact was, I didn't tell anybody. Fish lips, I kept it inside. The football that I took to the head, I held the tears until I got home. The fight that Diane wanted to have with me, I cried myself to sleep. The dance where I left the party and went back to my hotel room, I cried alone again. So what I'm realizing is that I learned very young how to hurt quietly. Those experiences, they didn't disappear when childhood ended. I grew up with very low self-esteem, and I honestly believed I was ugly. The complex about my lips followed me into adulthood. I can gently acknowledge that I am a sensitive person, and most times I am overly sensitive. And I can be reactive when a comment hits me the wrong way. So for years, I thought that was just my personality, right? But now I'm starting to wonder how much of it is who I am and how much of it is what I learned. So years later, I saw Evelyn again in person. I was a cashier at some grocery store. And when I saw Evelyn, 11th grade came rushing back. The dance, the shoes, the embarrassment. It was like I was reliving it all over again. And then I realized she probably didn't even remember the incident. She might have thought I was crazy if I would have brought it up again. So I didn't bring it up. I just smiled at her and said hello. I didn't mention anything about it. So then earlier this year, 2026, about 45 years later, something else happened. I got a Facebook friend request. Yes, it was from Evelyn. I was on the fence about accepting it because I remembered that dance and how deeply it affected me. So eventually I accepted the friend request, right? I accepted it because I'm not that little girl anymore. And accepting the friend request from Evelyn, it doesn't mean that what she did was okay. It just shows that old memory does not get to control the adult that I am today. So maybe nobody ever called you fish lips. Maybe you never took a football to the head. Maybe nobody humiliated you at school or at a school dance. But somebody may have handed you a belief about yourself when you were a child that you're still carrying today. So I'll ask you the same question that I've been asking myself. What are you still carrying that doesn't belong to you anymore. That kid who called me fish lips may have forgotten those words the same day that he said them, but I carry those words for decades. Eventually, nobody had to make me feel ugly anymore because I learned how to do that all by myself. I'm learning that starting over isn't always about changing something on the outside. Sometimes starting over means letting go of something somebody taught you to believe about yourself. That little girl thought that being strong meant don't turn around, don't cry until you get home, don't tell anybody, just keep walking. I understand that little girl now, but I don't have to live like her anymore. I'm not that little girl anymore. And that's my starting over moment for today. Remember, choose consistency over perfection. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.